Hello there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Star Wars Minute. It's your daily podcast in which we analyze, we scrutinize, and we celebrate The Last Jedi, one nostalgic minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
I'm Suzen Tekla Kruglnska from Kruglnska.com and the Comedy Film Funnel,
which will also feature me, Joe Dator, and I'm a cartoonist and the author of the upcoming Inked Cartoons, Confessions, and see if I can. Well, I can't remember it. No, here. Okay, Cartoons, Confessions, Rejected Ideas, and Secret Sketches from me. Look for that in later.
You're making this up as you go, aren't you?
Yeah, there's no book.
Kind of willing it into existence.
There's a book coming for sure, and it's called that. What I just said.
When is it coming out?
In the fall.
Nice, awesome.
Yes, look for that from Prospect Park Books.
Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy writing schedule to come back and talk about minute 35 of The Last Jedi.
I am not busy.
Minute 35 starts off with R2-D2 activating once he senses Luke has come on board. And it ends a minute later with a hologram of Princess Leia telling Obi-Wan that he's her only hope.
Now,
I have to get something out of the way before we even get started. I have to apologize to Chris Radke.
Oh.
I was listening to this show and I understand Chris Radke had a bad experience in the guest lounge when it was briefly under my control. He didn't really seem to feel comfortable there. He said the furniture seemed old, and I apologize for that. My bad, certainly. Also, the only reading material there was the New Yorker magazine. I didn't have any comic books for Chris, and I know that that's very important to him, so I'm very sorry, Chris, for that. I realize that Silver Surfer seldom appears in the New Yorker, so it's just not going to be as much fun or as interesting to him for that reason. So again, my bad. Sorry, Chris.
All right. Well, that was I can't tell whether it was an apology or the start of a feud, but we'll see how the hell Chris takes it. Yeah, Chris Beef.
I like that the Silver Surfer seldom appears in New Yorker magazine.
Yes.
I'm not saying never.
Not ever. Yeah. Seldom.
Yeah.
No, he did write a think piece about the election last year, but yeah.
Right. Well, I wanted to start out with the first. If you showed somebody, it's kind of not a thought experiment, but if you showed somebody the first, let's say 10 seconds of this, maybe just right before it, cut it off right before it, maybe more like 7 seconds. If you show them the first 7 seconds or so of this without any prior knowledge of Star Wars, if you managed to find somebody in a vacuum, not like Leia's in a vacuum, but somebody who would,
or those chimps.
No, exactly. No real Star Wars. Not like if somehow they didn't even know who R2-D2 was. If you just showed them the first couple of seconds of this movie, I'm pretty sure they would think it's a movie about killer robots because everything's dark. There's a little bit of kind of ominous music, and then the camera slowly kind of pulls back, and then out of the shadows comes this crazy robot, and you're like, uh-oh, what's going to happen?
Well, It's even more dramatic than that. There's a rack focus.
Oh, yeah.
There's a dramatic rack focus.
Dramatic rack. I saw them open for...
Dramatic rack attack.
Yeah,
they opened for Focus.
There you go.
Hocus and yeah.
Crocus.
No, it was... Who did Hocus Pocus? Was that...
Sweet?
That was Focus?
Focus,
I think Focus did Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, you're right.
There's the Dirty Mac. There you go.
Also, his coloring is, his lights are a little bit more, I don't remember him having some of these colors, but yeah, they seem a little more, there's something a little spooky about those colors on R2.
Although every director who handles a Star Wars movie gets to change things a little bit and leave their sort of stamp on it.
Yeah.
I think.
Their Terrence stamp.
That was George Lucas himself.
He left his stamp all over that one.
Yeah. Do you think that you're just the colors are kind of more vibrant to you because that porg that you ate yesterday is disagreeing with you, and it's
I had been thinking this earlier that the colors, because there's a green. Did he ever really have green? I don't remember really there's being those kinds of greens.
Where are you seeing green on R2D2?
And it's green is a monster. Green is a monster color. I learned that from The Shining.
He's got
that's
the
true.
little neck rectangle.
I once worked for a toy designer who said you never make a stuffed animal that's green because that's a bad color for a stuffed animal. Child doesn't want to see a green.
Wow,
doesn't want to hug a green thing.
My favorite stuffed animal was named Green Cat. My first toy anyone ever gave me. My Uncle Camille gave me Green Cat. I still have Green Cat. I wish I could grab it right now and show it to you. But yeah, so I don't know. I like Green Cat, but it's true. On R2D2, it looks a little something little horror film about it.
No, but is it in that little? He's got those like neck rectangles that have little lights in it. Nectangles. Or is there green coming from somewhere? Is he? I don't have it in front of me.
There's a round green light on the backside of it.
Yeah, in the circle. It is in his standard circle that we're so used to, that we're so familiar with, are to me unfamiliar colors. I think. And it's like rainbowy.
Could it be that those are kind of mood colors and that he's experiencing emotions he's never felt
mood
before?
Droid.
Yeah.
Although green would represent envy, right? Or
possibly.
We haven't seen really R2 in 30 years, so it's possible he's had some, this is like R2 4.0 or like, I'm sure there's been upgrades to his system since then.
R2D2
got the rockets probably put back in.
Yeah, so, I mean, if he looked the same, it would be like if all of us were wearing the same clothes all week.
Yeah.
That would be ridiculous.
That would be crazy.
Yeah.
One thing I do like is we get to see Luke and R2 united, because this movie, all too frequently, we don't get to see beloved characters, get to interact with each other. So especially since Luke and R2 did have they spent a lot of time together in ESB. Yeah. So I'm glad that they get a little scene. And also because R2 and Luke both criminally underused. Obviously they barely showed up in the first movie, and now here they're just kind of
that's true.
They don't do very much.
Was this the first time we're seeing R2 in this movie? I think it is, right?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So.
And that thinking back, that's R2D2 is the first character that Luke meets. Right? Because he's walking behind
in Star Wars?
Yeah, I mean outside of the people that we that we've continued to follow.
Yeah.
R2D2
I guess would be first.
Well, no, because R2D2 then Luke is following behind Uncle Owen as he goes through, and first Uncle Owen is just like going past the kind of more astromech droids.
Yeah.
And he picks out R5D4 but goes past I guess he does get introduced to C3PO for it. So meet, but
yeah, it's not an introduction
yet.
But maybe R2 never got over being referred to as that one.
Right.
What about that one?
That one.
What about, that one?
Well, one thing I'm pleased is that when we saw Luke in Empire Strikes Back, he was reliant on the X-Wing's translator to communicate with R2, but now he speaks. R2 says stuff to him, and he's even like, no, watch your language and stuff like that. So not only does he speak R2, but we learn that R2 uses profanity.
That's what I found interesting. Yeah.
R2 consistently curses like a sailor throughout the films, though.
Yeah. That's probably true, yeah.
Well, he is basically.
I mean, there's a lot of references to, like, hey, watch it.
What would robot profanity consist of? Because, so human profanity in our language would, bodily functions, sex.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's like he learned about profanity and said stuff like double dumbass on you. He says it wrong. It comes out,
Right. But it would be human. Yeah, I mean, it'd have to be human related, because our stuff is, humans are disgusting. We, do disgusting things. So it's easy to come up with profanity for humans. I mean, sex, come on, it's gross. So robots, they don't really do anything. Like, what would or unless, like a profanity for a robot would be like leaking oil. Maybe that's disgusting to a robot.
I hope that's not the stuff he's saying. I hope he's not robotizing all these things, like.
Well, I think it's probably, I really like this line of questioning, because ultimately it gets down to what are the neuroses that drive robots. Like, clearly C-3PO is terrified of being destroyed all the time. He's so his thing, But yeah, I guess when he's interacting with a human, they probably use human profanity.
Yeah.
But if it's just like an intra-robot conversation, then they would have their own slang and stuff like that humans would not, and we probably would not even be able to understand it. It's probably all like binary stuff that to us, just the same way understanding pooping to a robot, they would probably not even understand what you were talking about, really. So
obviously they haven't read
I would hope you
Pooping
could
for
teach
Robots.
it to them.
Well, again, our profanity is kind of connected to disgust, you know. So
Right.
yeah, so it's like, what would disgust a robot?
But I
That's
think
the
it,
question.
it's not.
or shock.
He's
Like
tailoring it. It's almost
really
like the
just-
opposite. The amount of time that R2D2 and C3PO spent together, I think it's a lot of R2D2 being a ironically, for somebody without hands or fingers, he's a bit of a button pusher. And so I think that he has spent a lot of time asking C3PO, you know, on these kind of long haul journeys. He's just like,
Yeah.
hey, what? So you're an expert in etiquette and protocol. So like you know the most proper thing to say in these situations. What's the most improper thing to say to a Neomoidian? You know what I mean, or an Ithorian, or going through. And so he's just like, what would be the worst? What would you not say? And C3PO being, you know, always wanting to share information, I'm sure it was just like, oh well, if you told an Ithorian that, you know, that so and so.
Yeah.
And R2D2
But you would
stores that.
never do that. They would react so badly.
Exactly.
And R2's like, yes.
And so he knows, you know, he's like he knows what to use to drive home the point to Luke here, and I think he's tailoring it for Luke.
Yeah.
So he probably, I don't know, used something even like. Well, this goes back to, you know, like as, magazine titles excluded, like what makes a New Yorker. You know, like how long is Luke still Tatooine? Like would a Tatooine reference still be applicable to him? Like if R2D2 was using a Tatooine specific kind of swear word, would Luke still react to that in the same way, or would he use a more?
Xanthopoodoo?
But he's
Well, yeah.
never saying anything in Tatooine. He's saying it in his own robotese. You know,
Right.
so
He might be using
R2D2's
regional
language is
phrases and regional slang.
it's so much
that
more
are specific
it's so
to
much more simple. Yeah, I mean, C3PO, you know, he can do English or complex languages. R2D2 can't do anything complex. It's just very, you know, he's talking in chunks. You know what I mean?
baby
Like
talk,
you know,
you mean?
even when they're translating BB-8, like I think one of your earlier episodes,
yeah.
you know, it was like you just got, you know,
like
fin,
naked
water,
baby talk,
yeah, you
leaking
know,
bag.
yeah,
Limited
leaking bag.
And
vocabulary.
naked leaking.
So that's what I picture R2D2's doing, and so I'm just wondering what is he punctuating it with? You know,
Right.
Susan, question.
Yes.
Does R2D2 having a potty mouth change how you feel about him in general?
No, because it suits his personality. If he
Does it make
does.
you like him? Does it make you like him more?
Sure.
Hmm.
I mean, I couldn't like R2D2 more.
Oh,
That's just
okay.
there's that from childhood. I had, you know, I was R2D2 all the way. I love every robot. I love BB-8. I love Dio. I love Dio. I love Dio.
I like Dio.
Yeah. So I'm into the
Hated
cute
Dio.
robots. Cute robots. Oh, absolutely. So yeah, there was never any lower level for R2D2, and cursing fits to his, you know, into his whole thing. It makes sense.
No.
I'm just, I'm just
have
curious.
we ruled out the possibility that R2's not cursing? Luke is a prude.
Mm.
Yeah,
Well,
that could be.
Well, also in this specific incident, and this goes back to something Pete has been saying all week, is that Luke really does, for all his, I'm disconnected from the Force, he clearly is still like, because if he really didn't care when R2, because the thing he objects to, he's a sacred island, you watch your language. So,
Right.
so he's talking about the Force Island, and that's what gets Luke mad, that he's disrespecting the Force Island. So, you know, it might not be profanity specifically, but he might just be saying this stupid island or this dump or whatever. This
Verschluggener
But the fact that
island.
Luke takes umbrage at it shows he clearly still cares.
Yeah.
Right, like
And Luke, R2 was
Island.
testing him to see how he would react to it, and once he saw that he was like, no, it's good. Then he's like, I know, I can still push his buttons.
R2's like playing a long game there. He's like,
Yeah.
He's being manipulative.
I also like when Luke says, I wish I could make you understand. Oh, wait a minute, you're a robot. And he goes, do, 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 do. And then R2's like, yes, now I understand.
You can press the
So-
understand button.
Yeah.
Yes, the drop it button.
Would
will
you
just
like
make
me
the
to
robot stop.
understand? Press yes. Press Y for yes.
It's also funny that when R2D2 gets excited, he bounces, you know,
Yeah.
which doesn't quite make sense either, but why not?
Well, it made sense when there was a little man in there. But
Well, I guess it could make sense in the sense since these robots deal with humans, you would want a way for the robot to be able to convey, I'm excited about something.
It's like a tail wag. It's like a tail wag.
Or you could turn off notifications, then it would just go stop and not react.
Put them on
Would
silent.
you guys, Susan, since you're such a droid fan, if you could have one droid, which Star Wars droid would you want to own?
I'm so in love with Dio, but I think it would be BB-8 because BB-8 is just like there's more to do, more to interact with, and more helpful. BB-8 can do anything. The Spider-Man arms, the things he can shoot out of him, the going up and down the stairs, it's amazing. So I think BB-8 because you could this is like you would have a best friend. I wouldn't need any more friends. I would just have BB-8. Whereas Dio, you're taking care of Dio. I love Dio, but you're taking care of Dio.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. He's suffering from something.
Right. Plus,
you're petting
a lot of things.
Yeah. You could fill up BB-8 with coins too. We'll learn that later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And secret maps.
What about Joe?
Useful, yeah.
What kind of droid did we already ask of? I feel like have we asked this of either of you before?
No, I don't think I've addressed this before. But I would not want any of the main types of droids. I would want one of those, like an R1 unit, one of that things that just looks like a big kiosk, or something like that, or whatever. What's the thing that's just like a dome with an antenna on wheels?
Yeah, that's the sandcrawler.
Big low flat one.
Get one of those. Yeah, or a Treadwell or something like that. I'd love a Treadwell, especially one in blue like the one in the movie. That would be the way the droid is designed would be, meaningful to me. I could see having an R2 unit, but it wouldn't be one of the main ones. It wouldn't be R2D2 for sure. I couldn't handle the pressure of R2D2. Did you imagine R2D2 hanging out with me after saving the universe? He'd get so bored.
Maybe he wants a break. Maybe he'd appreciate it. Quiet intellectual life.
Beeping at me all the time, wanting to go do an adventure, and I'm just like, no, we're just hanging around here. This is it. This is the apartment. This is it. It's not going to get better than this. So I'd like a droid who had lowered expectations.
Right.
I'm not gonna feel guilty for not taking it on an adventure.
Why don't you do like a rescue droid, like one of those droids that was being tortured in Jabba's palace? That way, you'd just be grateful that you weren't torturing it. Yeah.
You should get a rescue or a senior, probably one of the droids that you see on Kessel in Solo. One of those really old school looking, clunky, dopey looking droids that look like they were the first ones ever designed. Those droids to me, I love because they look like they're designed by, if you asked an 8-year-old to design robots and they came up with those particular dopey, clunky designs, and you never see them in any other film, I'll take one of those. One of those would be good for me.
All right.
Noted.
Give us a Solo special.
I have what may be I know might be a controversial idea here, but I'm going to suggest a re-edit of this movie right now. I'm going to say, and this isn't, I know, Susan, you and I disagree about whether or not movies should be longer or not. This is controversial to me then, and I'm saying, Luke here is just saying, hey, I'm not going to jump into this fight. Like, nothing can make me change my mind. And I'm going to suggest at that point, you cut about 100 minutes out of the movie and just smash cut to Luke showing up in the crystal cave at the end. And he was just like, well, here I am. And then there's a lot of character stuff. There's a lot of other things that would get thrown out with that bathwater. But I would like to see that interesting cut of just go straight to Luke showing up, being like, well, he changed his mind. And here he is to stare down the rebellion, stare down the First Order with his laser sword, as he suggested he might.
And would you like that narrated by Ron Howard? You'd like that jarring reversal narrated by Ron Howard.
Yeah. Nothing could make me change my mind. He changed his mind.
Or you need it like Luke saying, like, that droid could talk me into anything, something like that, like him reacting to the smash cut. So I like it.
What do you think of him saying that in the first place? What do you think of him saying, nothing could make me change my mind? Because the way he says it, something is going to come right after to at least try to make him change his mind.
Yeah.
It's a clear setup punchline.
Yeah. So what's the question?
what do you think of that moment? Because I find it a bit too obvious.
That's like so much of the dialogue. Yeah.
I think it does seem like the setup for a joke or like a bit, but the fact that they then pull out this hologram, like it's almost like, whoa, like I was expecting some corny joke, not like one of the great relics of the golden age to suddenly appear before us. So I'm willing to cut it some slack.
Yeah, I love the rest of this minute. I love that callback. But yeah, the dialogue, I just want to point out, like, your whole problem there is that sentence. And I agree. I think just the dialogue in this movie in general is not as good as it is in other movies. I just think that is one of the problems with this movie is it's not as artfully written.
And I didn't say I don't like that dialogue, but just too much, no pun intended, it's too much of a projection.
Right.
It telegraphs the next thing a little too easily.
Yeah, because it could have been written in a different way and it would have been more...
Yeah. It holographs the next line too obviously. Yeah.
But then it is fun. It really, really fun to see.
But I do love what happens next.
It is fun.
And I love that R2 has been carrying that recording around all this time, and it's now kind of degraded. The sound and the picture are kind of broken up a little.
Yeah.
And again, we don't know how this technology works. We don't know how their version of a digital file works. Somehow it breaks down over time, like it's on film or something. You know?
Well, he was dunked in water in Empire. That's probably...
I know, he was partially a lot, actually. Yeah, I know. But yeah, exactly. We don't exactly know how these things work.
One thing
it should have been maybe turn it a little bit red, like an old home movie. Like have the color just turn almost completely magenta.
Or just end and it like burns up like a film. It's stuck in the projector.
General Kenobi, years ago, you helped.
I do like that they busted this out. It does raise a bunch of questions, like, did he keep this one because it's like a special message, or does it just like, is his thing filled up with, is Luke's message to Jabba the Hutt still on there?
Probably.
Or all like, is every hologram we've seen, does the only, does someone have to go through periodically and delete a bunch of files to clear up space for
how come
giant maps of the galaxy?
How come he's not getting that message? Your what is it? Your thing is, what do I get it every day? And
your scratch disk
is full. Your scratch disk is full. I get this like every day. That you would think.
Well, that's if he wasn't keeping all these old messages, he could have like solved the map problem. Like
it's true. Yeah,
he would have had the whole map.
Yeah. Instead, he's just got to work with a little bit of memory he's got left.
Yeah. This is good ad for like a disk cleaner software or something like that.
But or the opposite. It's like, well, you don't throw out old things. You might need them to convince people to do things.
And then he has a backup of the entire C-3PO history, the entire C-3PO memory.
Oh yeah.
Oh right.
Up.
Yeah.
Think about it. Think about all that stuff he has on him. Jeez.
Which for a second, I thought you were referring to Droid Tales, the where he pulls out the little USB stick and has C-3PO's memories, but you're referring to Rise of Skywalker, which was both. I like both a lot, but
that was internal, right? He had that internally, didn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he like they every once in a while they sync.
Yeah.
Finger quotes, air quotes.
Backup.
I will say one
time
thing
to back up.
consistent.
It's very romantic.
Time to back up.
One thing consistent throughout Star Wars is that their technology is hard to figure out. Sometimes it's very advanced and sometimes it's very backwards. Sometimes it's very analog and sometimes it's behind even our technology. But one thing consistent is that their AI is way advanced beyond anything we can imagine. They can do so much with artificial intelligence and fit it into a very small robot somehow. I remember once, like, I think I read a thing about how, when I'm sure we talked about this before, but how the moment when Han Solo shuts up C-3PO by just giving him a finger in the face, like, and the fact that C-3PO is able to process that finger as meaning shut up, that like the facial expression and the hand gesture as being angry and able to process that the finger means to shut up it's an amount of processing that had to be in his brain that is beyond any computer that currently exists on Earth today. It would be so many calculations per second. It would be in the trillions. And somehow they figured that out like hundreds of thousands of years ago in Star Wars, how to do incredibly advanced AI.
Shout out to everybody listening to this in the far future where they're like, only trillions? Like, this podcast is so old.
That's it's the largest number I know, so I can't think of one larger.
But I would also like to see, a different kind of a droid not as concerned with etiquette and protocol. Han Solo, puts his finger in his face and the droid just eats his finger off.
Yeah,
Plate it.
Yeah.
A little miscalculation. You can only be a jerk to a protocol droid and get away with it. Other droids will not sit still for it.
We haven't really seen. Have we seen that storyline at all in a Star Wars where AI goes terribly wrong? It goes like rogue,
like a rogue droid that goes evil.
Not
we haven't had that.
In the old continuity. There was the bounty hunter IG-88 downloaded his mind into the Death Star and took control of the Death Star. But that doesn't count anymore. So who knows in this world?
Well, was IG-88 supposed to be a bounty hunter in the first place? Did he?
He was an assassin.
Wasn't he a droid that went crazy?
He was an assassin droid. So
okay, so built to be an assassin droid.
Yeah.
So he's consistent with his programming throughout his career.
Yes, that's at least according to the old continuity.
I think taking over the Death Star isn't going crazy, isn't going rogue. That's consistent with his programming. But being an assassin droid, it's like, let me get the galaxy super weapon. That's the most effective way to be an assassin.
From a certain point of view. Speaking of etiquette and protocol, what is the etiquette for playing someone else's hologram message for a different recipient? This was not intended for Luke. This was aimed at Obi-Wan Kenobi. And is there a statute of limitations where now this is public domain where R2 can just show it to anyone who wanders by?
He's not showing it to Eddie. He's showing it to Luke, who's already seen it.
Yeah.
He knows that Luke saw it in the presence of Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is now dead.
And who did not object at the time.
And the ownership then, I think, passes to Luke. So if he owns the...
Well, we don't know that. Why would it go to Luke?
Because it was Uncle Owen's. Uncle Owen bought it.
Stolen goods.
Yeah, true. But before that, I'm assuming Captain Antilles is already dead. He was their last master before.
Oh.
And in fact, I just listened to in the first episode of the Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back radio drama. Luke and Leia they have a little scene where Luke basically says like, "Oh yeah, I asked the droids to help you out a bit," and Leia's like, "What do you mean?" Well, he says like, "Yeah, they're basically, they're mine now because I think he even says like, when my uncle bought them and they were mine, but he says I really think of them as ours." Basically, he's a little bit kind of trying to tie Leia down in a kind of sense of like, "Oh yeah, these are our things." But
I thought it was more like he was trying to worm his way in because Luke has no legal standing that these droids are his. They both belong to Princess Leia. So he's like, "Yeah, I kind of think that they're ours." And she's like, "No, they're mine." He doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Right. R2-D2. It's inside him.
Seeing that hologram, really, I gotta say, it gives me the feels.
Oh, I loved it.
Yeah. Because not only is it just a thing, like, oh look, it's the thing, nostalgia thing, but it's really meaningful at this point in the film because it shows the distress signal that she sent that started this whole thing.
Yeah.
That we're all here because of this message, and then it sort of foreshadows later in the film her sending a distress signal and getting no answer at all.
And that was one of the first magical moments of the movie because in 76 was it that it came out? It was really that was pretty impressive. Like you hadn't really seen anything like that. I for some reason I remember being like, that is the coolest thing. And there's just something about it that was very attractive. And the whole movie was obviously just so well done, but that was one of the very first things where you're like, oh, that's besides the cantina scene that came before the cantina scene. Yeah. So
oh yeah.
So that was definitely one of the first things, aside from the beauty of the interiors of these ships, that was one of the first really cool things that you were like, oh, I want one of those. I want to see more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was almost surreal for me the first time seeing this on a big screen again. And not just because I was watching a revival of Star Wars again, but that this was a brand new current film that I was watching, and I'm watching Luke Skywalker in the hold of the Millennium Falcon, and there's the hologram of young Princess Leia saying, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi, you're my only hope." And I kind of had to pinch myself that this is what I was watching in a movie theater in 2017.
I love the holograms. What do you guys think about the idea of General Organa doing one, almost like a ring theory thing? You know what I mean? Like old Carrie Fisher doing it and changing the words, obviously, but it would be the same basic gist, which is, come on, you gotta help. You know, help me, Luke Skywalker, you're our only hope, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah. Well, maybe she did that at the end of this film and we didn't get to see it, but maybe that's exactly what she did.
You think they would have opened with that rather than wait till if they wanted her, if they want Luke to come back, you think they would want to be like, you know, open with their biggest argument rather than oh, also, why didn't Princess Leia herself come to get Luke is also one of the weird questions, but Rey's story stuff.
She's got to be in charge of the fleet, in charge of the resistance to get them
right. Well, they got Admiral Holdo for that.
Yeah. That's a question for J.J. Abrams.
Holdo.
Yeah. Holograms are so common in these movies. I mean, obviously everything from the giant snow kid to Hux popping up on Kylo Ren's like windshield, which we didn't even talk about. You know, you just see them constantly. So it's obviously this very common media. So you would think like people would probably have even just kept diaries, you know, hologram diaries, like every day, just like, let me talk to my, you know, just talk about my day and keep a, you know, obviously they can store data like crazy.
The Lando Calrissian adventures.
It could be fun to do.
The Calrissian Chronicles, isn't that what he's writing to himself?
Yeah.
Did he do that?
In Solo, yeah, he's doing it's a double thing. He's kind of, you know, dictating his, you know, memoirs essentially, but it's also kind of a reference to
Captain's log type.
Yeah, but it's also a reference to some of the Lando Calrissian adventures by L. Neil Smith.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What I really like about this. Go ahead, Susan.
No, I was just gonna say it'd be fun to do you really do a hardcore 90-minute film or something, or a series of nothing but someone's hologram diaries, you know, maybe, I don't know, just like a
when you say a hardcore film,
it's a whole different thing.
I would like to clarify what you mean by that.
Like a version of a web series, but in hologram, you know, that'd be kind of fun.
Yeah. What I really like about this bit is it's one of those remix situations like The Force Awakens, where now Luke is the Obi-Wan,
right,
who's receiving the message, and Leia is basically Bail Organa now, sending her emissary to try to find the retired Jedi Knight to get him to come back. So it's
right,
like everyone goes up a degree, and I guess it's just not Rey doing the pleading; she's there in person. Which, as we know, was Princess Leia's original plan, was to go meet Obi-Wan in person to plead with him to come back. Makes you wonder if, what if Obi-Wan had reacted the same way Luke does and just been like, let me at it, I'm done with being a Jedi. I screwed everything up already. You know, that was my Obi-Wan impression.
Yeah, I like it.
It sounded just like Alec Guinness.
It did, totally. Yeah. He's like, excuse me, I just ate some womp rat stuck in my throat.
I want to just address what Susan brought up, was being that the Empire are basically space Nazis, you could conceivably do the hologram diary of a young girl.
There you go.
You could tell that story, a similar story to Anne Frank, through hologram diaries.
Also, if they had a COVID epidemic, could you have hologram parties where you, right? Like
yes.
A room full of holograms.
Totally.
Don't you wish we could do that?
And presumably they could interact, you know, it's more of a 3D kind of interaction, right? And we could all wander around a chess table together.
I don't know about that. My employer had a virtual office party over at Christmas where you would log on and then you appear as a moving dot on the screen and you could move closer to other dots of people you know. It was like little face avatars of all the people there, and you could sort of move around. And as your avatar dot got closer to the ones you knew, you could like audibly hear what they were saying.
Oh, weird.
It was like in headphones, and people were talking in mics, and you could have conversations and then drift over to a different conversation, and it was meant to be a virtual Christmas office party, and I just, oh God, it's the most awful thing I can think of. Almost as bad as an actual Christmas office party.
Right. Was there a little Gene Hackman dot across the street? No.
I'm completely blanking on what you were referencing.
The conversation. That,
the
where
conversation.
he's listening
right.
to what they're all talking about in the.
See, I was thinking the Poseidon adventure.
Oh,
that was that's why, because I thought, no, it was Christmas, not New Year's Eve. I have a question for you guys. I was listening to this specific show,
Okay,
the one we're recording
on.
right now. I was listening to it.
Someone's listening.
In a time loop. Well, no, I was listening to a different episode, not today's episode, but in a previous episode of the Star Wars Minute. Peter, you did a sort of a Frank Nelson voice at some point during one of the shows. You had somebody going, yes. Mm-hmm. And I started thinking, what if the whole Jack Benny cast were part of Star Wars? What if the entire cast of the Jack Benny program were to play roles in Star Wars? How would you cast them?
Now, before we proceed, let me bring into evidence. Are we aware of the Jet Benny show, everybody?
I was just going to mention that because I have seen that. Very few people probably have.
Yeah. I feel like it might have come up on the show before, but it was something that I rented, in my thirst for Star Wars material. I rented a couple of times as a kid, having no.
I'll bet you were disappointed.
Well, yeah, I had no kind of frame of reference for anything Jack Benny other than the cartoon mouse, that would occasionally pop
Honey
up.
Mousers.
Yeah, so that
no, it's the other one.
I had no. I was more bewildered than disappointed, but also partially disappointed. But I do kind of remember.
Yeah. It's a weird. It's like a feature length film that some guy made sometime in the 80s, I guess. And it's marketed as a Star Wars parody, but it's not really. It's got some elements of Star Wars, sort of. It's got like a Darth Vader type figure and kind of a desert planet because, they're out in California. What do? You go out to the desert and film because it looks like another planet.
Yeah.
It was a very, very low budget affair, but the whole premise of it was that it's Jack Benny in Star Wars. And this guy who stars in it, I think also wrote and directed it, does a very good Jack Benny impression. Mm-hmm. And he has a robot who's Rochester. And other than that, there's really not much in common, other than their spaceship's called the Maxwell.
Wow.
But that is my choice for Rochester would be C-3PO. Rochester could only be C-3PO in Star Wars, I think.
Isn't Rochester, though, a strong character? Like, doesn't he talk back and sort of put him in his place?
Well, yeah, we could change that about C-3PO. We can make C-3PO more of a sassy guy.
It's a little more
if
of
we
a foil.
give him. Well, if we give him Rochester's voice,
you combine R2-D2 and C-3PO, maybe you get.
Yeah, exactly. Sort of more of a thing. And obviously the bartender in the cantina would have to be Frank Nelson. Because Luke taps him on the shoulder and he turns around. Yes!
I'll have one of those.
Yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, people always remember that guy as saying, yes! They never remember all the other funny stuff he used to say. Like, he would have lines. After he'd said yes, he would have a whole scene with Jack Benny where Benny would say, pardon me, sir, do you work here? And he would say, no, I'm posing for a Greek statue, or something like that. He would always be super sarcastic. And so, so he could play multiple characters, I think, throughout Star Wars. So really the wild card for me is Mel Blanc. Where does Mel Blanc come in? Who would Mel Blanc play in Star Wars?
I want to say Yoda, maybe.
Oh, yes. Of course.
He could do kind of a...
Oh, yeah.
He could do a no longer appropriate Mexican voice for Yoda, or a no longer appropriate... But he has other... I mean, a good kind of... I'm trying to think of what's the most...
Well, he just does like an all-purpose nebbishy voice.
Yeah, the best combination of not... of still culturally appropriate and somehow relevant to being a teacher. I'm extrapolating Mel Blanc out of the again, because my points of reference for the Jack Benny program have not expanded much beyond when I originally saw the Jack Benny show when I was like 7, and I was like, what is this? Go back to space.
I would not want Mel Blanc to play a droid, only because that would just be too close to Buck Rogers.
Of course.
It'd be fun to do a game, and we shouldn't do this, but where you take every decade, like the 40s, 1940s, who are the people in the 1940s who you would cast for each of these? Just like, what would Star Wars have been in the 1940s? Who would have been playing those characters? Then do, the 30s, the 50s.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of fun, actually.
Yeah, I would want to combine Star Wars with It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. And take the cast of that and put them in Star Wars and see who would be who.
I still want them to do that. I was disappointed that the Han Solo movie was not
more of that.
It wasn't the Star Wars equivalent of Mad, 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 Mad World.
Yeah, or Cannonball Run, or one of those big, massive things where they have thousands of people and
right.
Yeah, but next time.
There's still time. The franchise is alive. So.
I know.
Han Solo lives. Well, do we have anything else for minute 35 then? Luke Skywalker watching a hologram, just as nostalgic as we are.
Just an old man sitting on the couch watching TV.
Making love to his tonic and gin.
Not his gin and tonic, because that's a completely different drink.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The ratio. It's all about the ratios.
Yeah. I always go into a bar and ask for a tonic and gin.
The bartender's
never
like,
a gin and tonic.
Well, so thank you guys for joining us all week. Do you want to give one more plug to the good old CFF, which people should be ready to tune into?
Yes, it'll be coming out either right at the same time as this stuff or right soon after. And sure, we're on Twitter and Facebook, and maybe I guess we should do Instagram, right? I don't know. It'll be both audio and it will be video.
Nobody on Instagram listens to podcasts.
Doesn't matter. You don't want someone else taking that name.
I know. I shouldn't have said that.
That's true.
But we'll be doing it on video, just like these guys. We're copying. We're going to do the same thing, and God help us be on camera.
Yeah, that's exciting. We're going to dissect comedy films. Some of them are going to be the unimpeachable classics, and some of them are going to be little known. And it's going to be whatever we want to talk about, as long as it's on film and it's comedy and it fits into a funnel.
And lots of tangents on our Patreon, and lots of editing and popping in of clips. And I'll be working hard on it. It'll be pretty fancy, I think.
Oh, yeah. I like this ambition.
Oh yeah.
Excellent.
What's the editing monster?
What's the frequency, Kenneth? How often are these coming out? Do we know?
If the goal is every 2 weeks,
okay.
for a major episode, and then plus Patreons in between.
Okay,
we'll see.
Fortnightly.
I like it.
Yeah, and we're gonna keep that story straight. That's our story, and we're sticking to it.
Yeah.
Well, sorry. Go ahead. Anything else?
And I just want to plug one more time is this fall from Prospect Park Books is Inked. Cartoons, cartoons, confessions, rejected ideas, and secret sketches. Got it right. From the New Yorker's Joe Dator.
Is this mostly a collection of cartoons? Like, what is the ratio of?
It's a collection of cartoons, confessions, rejected ideas.
What is the ratio of confessions to cartoons?
It is unclear at this moment.
Okay.
And are the rejected ideas like, oh, I should get a sandwich? Nah. Like that's a rejected idea.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Yeah.
That's one of them.
None of the rejected ideas made the cut, unfortunately.
And if I can fill up a whole page with that's one more page I can X off. Thank you for that. Also, if you're in Astoria, Queens, stop by Porgo Loco.
Porgo Loco. Taste.
Yeah, and you might see me there. Taste the cuteness.
You got to learn how to say porg in Octuian. But well, good luck with the comedy funnel. Comedy film funnel. There you go. Yeah. I knew there was a word missing in there. CFF.
Close enough.
Not to be confused with Film Comedy Funnel, which is a different podcast that we're suing.
Totally. Or the People's Front of Film Comedy.
Yeah, right.
The People's Funnel.
Whatever happened to the popular funnel? He's over there.
Well, we also have a Patreon, which we would like you to support, which you can find by going to StarWarsMinute.com/Patreon. We do episodes You can hear us 7 days a week if you're into it. If that's your kind of thing that you're into, sort of. So yes, go to StarWarsMinute.com/support. You can get bonus shows. You can get art prints by me, yours truly. You can go to a sporting event should those ever happen again with Beat the Retailer, and all that stuff. So StarWarsMinute.com/support, and we'll be back on Monday with another new episode of Star Wars
Star Wars Minute.
Happy Friday, everyone.